All right, let's get into it. Today, we are going full-on horticultural detective. We're going to peel back the layers on something you probably look at every day, a simple plant pot, and uncover the surprising science hidden inside. You're not going to believe what we find.
You know the feeling, right? You've done everything by the book. You gave it the perfect amount of sunlight, you watered it just right, heck, you probably even gave it a name. And then one day, it's just gone. It's so frustrating. Well, what if I told you the problem isn't what you did, but what your plant is actually living in?
So often, the culprit is this thing called root rot. It's probably the #1 killer of houseplants. But here's the twist in our little mystery. The investigation doesn't start with a plant's roots. Nope. It starts with the potting medium. That's our crime scene.
Okay, so let's dig into our first section here and get to know the silent killer. See, most people think of root rot as some kind of disease that just appears, but that's not it at all. The truth is, it's an environmental failure. And the good news, it's totally preventable.
And this right here is the key. You have to get this. Root rot doesn't start when some nasty fungus or bacteria attacks a healthy root. It starts when the root can't get any air. It's literally suffocating. The pathogens, they're just scavengers, showing up to the party after all the real damage has been done. So now that we know the cause of death is suffocation, it's time to meet our prime suspects. When you're dealing with special plants, like orchids or carnivorous plants, the go-to medium is often sphagnum moss. But as you're about to find out, not all moss is created equal, not by a long shot.
Okay, check this out. On the left, you've got your premium AAA grade moss. Look at that. The fibers are over a foot long. This stuff is harvested by hand, air-dried, it's fluffy, it's airy. And on the right, you've got your standard florist moss. The fibers are way shorter, it's all processed by machines, and it's basically designed to be packed down tight. And of course, it's a lot cheaper. But that low price, it comes with a very big hidden cost.
Now, to really understand why these two types of moss are so completely different, we've got to pull out the microscope. It's time for a forensic analysis to look at the secret world that's going on inside the moss itself.
This is where we get into the really cool biology of sphagnum. It's built with these incredible little things called hyaline cells. I want you to picture millions of tiny, empty sponges, all linked together. They're basically these perfect little reservoirs, and it's what gives this moss its legendary ability to hold water.
And when I say legendary, I am not kidding. This stuff can absorb and hold on to 20, that's 20, times its own dry weight in water. It is just an unbelievable feat of natural engineering. Truly incredible. But, and this is a huge but, here's where the plot thickens. A plant pot isn't just a water tank. It's a home. And for roots to be happy and healthy, they need a perfect balance. They need water to drink, for sure, but they also desperately need air to breathe. So holding water is only half the story.
You got to think about it this way. There are two kinds of empty spaces in any potting mix. You have the macropores. These are the tiny little spaces that hold onto water. Think of them as water pockets. But then you have the big ones, the macropores. These are the spaces that drain out after watering and fill up with air. These are the air highways, and they are absolutely essential for delivering oxygen to the roots. You need both to succeed.
Okay, we have all the clues. We know the cause of death is suffocation. We know about the all-important air highways. So now let's reconstruct the crime and see exactly how that cheaper moss ends up becoming an accomplice. So here is exactly how it goes down. When you water that cheap, short-fibered moss, it just doesn't have the structure to hold itself up. It collapses and compacts down around the roots. And when that happens, it squeezes those vital macropores, those air highways, completely shut. Now the roots are trapped. They're sitting in a waterlogged bog, starved of oxygen. They start to weaken, they die, and only then do those opportunistic pathogens move in for a feast.
I mean, this chart says it all, doesn't it? Just look at this. When it's wet, the premium, long-fibered moss keeps a huge amount of its volume as open, air-filled space. Why? Because those long strands lock together and they refuse to collapse. The florist moss, it just turns into a dense, saturated brick. There's almost no air left. The difference is just it's night and day.
So what this really boils down to is this one powerful idea. You see, sphagnum moss is naturally acidic, which is great. It helps fight off bad microbes. That's its chemical defense.
But when you use that cheap compacted moss, the physical structure just fails. The air pockets collapse. At that point, it doesn't matter how good the chemical defense is because the roots are drowning. The structural failure always wins.
So after our little investigation, the verdict is in and it is crystal clear. Your choice of moss isn't just some minor detail. It is a critical make or break decision for the entire foundation of your plant's health. So let's talk about what this means for you.
Look, if you're growing plants that are super sensitive about having air around their roots, we're talking epiphytic orchids like Phalaenopsis that literally grow on trees in the wild, or carnivorous plants that need airy, boggy conditions, investing in the good stuff, the long fibered moss, is simply non-negotiable. Same goes if you're doing something high stakes, like propagating a super rare cutting or trying to air layer a branch. Basically, for any plant that hates having wet feet, this is the only way to go.
And that right there is the final takeaway. It's so easy to just look at the two bags, look at the two prices, and grab the cheaper one. But for these kinds of plants, you're not actually saving money. You are just buying a problem. You're prepaying for the headache of root rot and most likely the cost of a replacement plant down the road.
So I'll just leave you with this question to think about next time you're about to repot one of your favorite plants. You can't build a strong, healthy plant without a strong, healthy foundation. So, is the long-term survival of your plant worth investing in the integrity of that foundation? Thanks for joining our little investigation today.